And thank you, Arta, for arranging this session. We would like to make it as informational as possible so that it helps everyone, all the Telugu community in the US and abroad. So, so President Sam has signed a proclamation order. So stating that anyone who is currently outside the US, okay, cannot enter into the US on H1B, right? This only applies to H1B visa holders right now. సో ఏంటి అంటే H1B వీసా హోల్డర్స్ ఎవరైతే యూఎస్కి రావాలనుకుంటున్నారో ఇప్పుడు వాళ్ళ ఎంప్లాయర్స్ తప్పకుండా 100,000 కట్టాలి అని చెప్పేసి కొత్త ప్రొక్లమేషన్ ఆర్డర్ పెట్టాడు. సో కానీ దీనికి there are certain exemptions also available, which we can go through it in more detail during the session. Prashant, you want to add any more things to it before? Prashant, you're on mute. ఓకే, సో ఈ ప్రొక్లమేషన్ ఆర్డర్ అయితే ఉందో ఇట్ స్టార్ట్స్ ఫ్రమ్ tonight. ఈ రోజు midnight నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది and this is expected to last.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You want to continue or should?
Yeah. So
Okay.
Thanks Santosh. Thank you Arta. Thank you Jay Garu for inviting me at short notice. And hello everyone. Yes, we've had yet another bombshell with reference to immigration law, in addition to other things, but right now we're focusing on this. The proclamation, as Santosh rightly said, the 12:01 a.m. September 21st ki start avutundi. It'll expire in 12 months. Just a few pointers I'm giving you. The proclamation targets entry of H1B workers into the US who are currently outside the US. And the basis that they're using is 212F, and we can discuss further as to what 212F is and on what basis they are trying to achieve this. Restriction, as Santosh rightly pointed out, is on entry. So entry of H1B workers who are presently not in the country. So that means it does not impact those who are presently in the country. But it could impact those who leave the country and try to re-enter. So if you are on a H1, you're traveling for business or for pleasure and you are trying to come back, it's possible that it could impact. And that's a controversy there. And we will discuss further about that because there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot of speculation on who it applies to. And that's, I think, one of the main reasons that there is speculation. USCIS shall not adjudicate any petitions unless they're accompanied by proof of this 100,000 fee. So that means if you want to come into the country, if you're outside and it's a new H1, then you have to pay 100,000 fee every year to come into the US. This fee can be collected by the Department of State or by CBP, and they'll give us further information as to how they're going to collect it, who's going to collect it, etc., etc. And as I said, extensions of stay will not be impacted, at least as of now, unless they decide to later on. So change of employer, so F1 to H1 will not be affected, H4 to H1 will not be affected. Amended petitions will not be affected, extensions will not be affected. And the other point that we have to notice that it's for a period of 1 year, but they're going to revisit it again in March of 2026. While Malli Tani revisit Cheshi, they will look into the pros and cons of it and see, what so far the advantages and disadvantages have been. And they may decide to either continue it or they may decide to remove it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Inkoti entante, they want to make sure that people don't use B visas in order to come in and then file a change of status to a H1. So this basically what they're trying to do is preventing new people from filing H1Bs. So if people are able to circumvent that by coming on a B first and then converting to a change of status, because change of status applications are allowed even for cap petitions. They're trying to prevent that as well. Also, what we saw in this particular proclamation is that the Secretary of State has been given instructions to initiate rulemaking to revise the prevailing wage levels. That means that they want to increase the prevailing wage levels. So those of you who may be happy that you're not affected because you're an F1 and you might have a better chance of getting picked in the cap because now other people are not being picked, may not be so because the wages may increase.
Yeah. So as Prashanti has mentioned, right? So right now, as it stands, it does not affect people who are currently in the US, right? This proclamation order by itself. But yes, they are thinking about raising the H1B wage levels. As of now, we don't have a pure direction on how they will be implementing this one or when they will be implementing the wage levels. But right now, what really matters is people being able, like the H1B visa holders, being able to enter into the US. ఇంకోటి ఏంటి అంటే few hours back there's been a notification even on Fox News stating that it applies only to new visa holders, right? సో అక్కడ కూడా కన్ఫ్యూజన్ ఉంది. ఏంటి అంటే ఒకవేళ నిజంగా న్యూ వీసా హోల్డర్స్ అయితే దెన్ దే కుడ్ హావ్ జస్ట్ ఇష్యూడ్ ద ప్రొక్లమేషన్ ఆర్డర్ బ్యానింగ్ ఇష్యూన్స్ ఆఫ్ న్యూ వీసాస్, right? They should not have mentioned about entry. They could have just said, hey, we'll not be issuing any more new visas అని. లేదు న్యూ క్యాప్ హెచ్వన్స్ అన్నారు అనుకోండి, న్యూ క్యాప్ హెచ్వన్స్ వోంట్ ఈవెన్ గోయింగ్ టు పిక్చర్, నాట్ ఈవెన్ కమింగ్ టు పిక్చర్ అంటిల్ నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్, రైట్? సో ఈ అప్పటిలోపట 8 months అయిపోతుంది. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ క్లియర్ వెదర్ how they will be implementing these regulations. So we have to wait and see. We will have a better idea maybe in the next 8 hours because చాలా మంది this is going to go into effect midnight today, right? సో ఎవరైతే మిడ్ నైట్ తర్వాత వస్తారో వాళ్ళని ఎట్లా స్క్రీన్ చేస్తారో చూడాలి. దాన్ని బట్టి విల్ గెట్ ఎ మోర్ పిక్చర్. ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే ఇట్ ఎఫెక్ట్స్ మోర్ ఐటీ ఇండస్ట్రీ, పీపుల్ హు ఆర్ వర్కింగ్ ఇన్ ఐటీ ఇండస్ట్రీ దెన్ ఎనీ అదర్ ఇండస్ట్రీ. ఎందుకంటే బేస్డ్ ఆన్ ది ప్రొక్లమేషన్ there are more number of unemployment, there's more number of unemployment in IT industry, right? When compared to other industries where high skilled workers could be utilized. So this will be a blow for a lot of IT professionals who are trying to come into the country for the first time, and also this could also affect people who are actually traveling outside the US and who have held H1B status before. So we have to wait and watch. And ingoti endante my assumption is people who are getting paid less, they have a less chance of getting entry into the country, or and people who work in IT industry, they also have a little lesser chance. కాకపోతే వేరే ఇండస్ట్రీలో వర్క్ చేసేవాళ్ళు, లైక్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ డాక్టర్సే కానీ, నర్సెసే కానీ, మేబీ సివిల్ ఇంజనీర్స్ ఆర్ బయోటెక్ ఫీల్డ్లో ఉన్న వాళ్ళు కానీ, క్లీన్ ఎనర్జీలో వర్క్ చేసే వాళ్ళు కానీ, ఇఫ్ దే కెన్ షో దట్ దేర్ work is of national importance, then they maybe would easily get a waiver. So ఎవరైతే ఇండియా స్టక్ అయిన వాళ్ళు ఉన్నారో they should look at they should not definitely consider about filing a waiver with the Department of State.
So Santosh sir, so I would like to ask you a question. So what are the fields so that usually comes under the waiver?
దీనికి ఈ వేవర్కి ఏదైతే ఉందో దే నాట్ మెన్షన్, దే నాట్ ప్రొవైడ్ ఎనీ ప్రొసీజర్స్, రైట్? సో మీరు చెప్పినట్టుగా ఓకే, సో ది $100,000 fees is what I'm referring to. Okay,
yes sir,
that is for the entry, right? And that too they are saying that it's per year, which is weird, right? I can understand if they say 100,000 per H1B, but now they are speaking about 100,000 per H1B per year, right? And I don't know if there is any employer who will be willing to pay $100,000 per year for each H1B.
yeah.
Prashant, you want to add something to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that the whole problem with the fees also, Santosh, is that the fact that they're increasing the fees, and that's one litigation vulnerability that really we can exploit maybe as lawyers. The fact that they're increasing the fees, it's like an unauthorized tax, so they can't really do that because um, that kind of thing is delegated to DHS. DHS is supposed to increase immigration fees, and it's not within the scope of the president to do that via proclamation. So that might be one avenue whereby people can litigate. We can also talk about again the fee with reference to the separation of powers also. So Congress has the power to increase or levy a fee or a tax, and again a proclamation or the president cannot do that. And also, if you look at the Commerce Clause with reference to litigation, that can help as well. because that's also, you can argue it's outside, the scope of the presidential powers. And the funny thing is that there's no severability clause here, meaning their whole law is based only on this 100,000 tax. So if the 100,000 tax is struck down by courts, then there's nothing else. There's no other leg for this law to stand up on. So even whoever wrote it,
Yeah.
I think didn't do a very good job, but that might not be needed. Let's see
Yeah.
how it holds
Yeah.
up in
Can we go to
litigation.
Vijay actually, because I think since he has done a lot of this immigration litigation work, maybe Vijay, can we bring Vijay online? Vijay LRD.
Vijay.
Vijay, why do you think that the president has used a proclamation stuff and an executive order, and how does it differ, like between how do they play into picture, like executive order versus proclamation, and what are the clauses that they are using to come up with this one, and how can we defend this in the court?
Sure. So I think what Prashanti mentioned is fairly accurate there. But the difference between an executive order and a proclamation generally is the authority, right? The executive order is designed to instruct the executive branch to act a certain way. A proclamation is a presidential decision. Sometimes it has weight, so it has to have some statutory authority behind it in order for it to be enforceable. Here, I think the president's relying on 8 U.S. Code Section 1182, which allows the president to impose any restrictions on entry of individuals if it's detrimental to the interests of the United States, right? So that's what he's using to argue. Where I think he's going to have a tough time enforcing that is it doesn't. So there's a Supreme Court ruling a few years back, Trump versus Hawaii, where the Supreme Court has specifically stated that if the president wants to use this, he has general authority to use this section, but this section cannot supersede INA, Immigration and Nationality Act, right? That is exclusive power of Congress. And within INA, Congress has the authority to impose fees and determine fees. And this is substantially higher than any of the fees that Congress has ever imposed. And I think that's where we can attack this proclamation, because he's way outside of the scope of his authority. And Congress has not given him any further authority to rule on this or make a determination or an order, which is what he did in this scenario. So I think that's where we're able to fight it.
Yeah.
So are you trying to say that we have to this has to be decided on the merits of the case, or is there a way for us to get an injunction?
I'm sure there's going to be injunctions. I think we as a firm are also looking to file an injunction shortly, but I'm sure there's already ones in the works, and I haven't seen any filings go through today, but I anticipate by the end of the day today or tomorrow, they probably are. We just need, so it's going to go back to the birthright citizenship kind of case as well, where Supreme Court's probably going to say that you can't have a nationwide ban, but you could potentially have a class action lawsuit, right? So I think that may be the way this might go, or individually filed as well.
So
And also,
what do you think
Santosh,
is
I was
gonna
just
happen?
Santosh, I was just we were discussing an hour ago about all the earlier bans that he had and how they went through and what happened. So just to tell everyone, this is not the first time that he's had a travel ban. For those of you who remember, in January of 2017, he had the Muslim ban, and it was quickly, of course, it was challenged in court and then blocked at first. But then there was a revised Muslim ban in March of 2017. And then finally, as you were mentioning earlier, Trump versus Hawaii, the court held very narrowly 5-4 ruling that the president has broad immigration authority over immigration. So that was one time that he did it. And then in 2020, again, we saw this travel ban. They expanded the travel ban and added, a bunch of more countries, 6 more countries to it. And then they targeted immigrant visas. And then during COVID-19, they restricted entry from a lot of countries, China, Europe, Brazil, South Africa, India, etc. And they suspended many categories, especially including non-immigrant visa categories such as H, J, L, and they mainly cited labor concerns. But lucky for us, in January 2021, Biden issued a proclamation rescinding the Muslim ban as well as the travel bans. And, since COVID went away, those travel bans went away as well. And at that time, it was somewhat understandable because it was COVID and no one was traveling. But now, because of the high tax that is being imposed, 100,000 tax. So if you're in a H1 for 6 years, it's 600,000. I think the courts will have to look at it differently from what they did earlier. So let's, I guess, wait and see.
Yeah.
So before
So
we
there's
get
another
into
issue here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Santosh. And before we go into the details of litigation prospects, can we provide who is safe, who is not? For example, any person on H1B visa here in the United States, are they safe? Will they be impacted by this? If anybody wants to adjudicate their visa from F1 to H1 or from some other visa to H1 in the US, are they impacted by this visa? Third, if somebody is in India on travel, but they are currently H1B holders, are they okay to come back, or do they need to pay fee? And the first time, obviously, it looks like first time somebody is coming to the country on H1B, they have to pay the fee. So can you just give us that clarification, please?
Okay. So first thing ఏంటంటే people who are currently in the US and apply on H1B on H1B, they will be only affected by the fact that the H1B wages could go up, right? So when they're filing for an extension or an amendment, they may have to be getting paid higher wage compared to what they're getting right now. But it should not restrict them from applying for a change of employer or a change of status or filing for an amendment. So people who are currently in the US, they are say on the safer side, except for the fact that the H1B wages are going to go up.
Okay.
We're adding a second question key, people who are already in flight, right? అంటే వాళ్ళకి కొంచెం కష్టమయ్యే ఛాన్స్ ఉంది because especially if they don't land before midnight today, it could be a challenge, right? I'm afraid that they may be put in deportation unless they can somehow show that they fall into one of these other categories which are of national interest, or if their employer is willing to pay 100,000. But again, this is something new and we don't know how they will be implementing this. We have to wait for another 8 hours to see what exactly is going to happen.
Oh.
So I guess, Santosh, to answer that question and to just expand on what you said, I think the controversy here is there's no controversy about whether people who are in the US on H1 are affected or not. We know that they're not affected. No controversy about that, except for the wages, as you said, and we'll see how that plays out. But there is and there is no controversy about whether when a person is on H1, never been on a H1 before, is in India presently, for example, and wants to file a new H1 through the CAP, will they be affected or not? Yes, they will be affected. That is also no controversy about that. The only issue that we are not sure about is if a person is visiting the US, number one, is visiting the US and wants to go back and is traveling back after, visiting, and they did not go for a visa or stamping or anything, will they be allowed to come back or will they have to pay the 100,000? So there's a huge controversy about this because it's not been written well, the proclamation. It talks about entry, talks about 214F, which is basically a travel ban. A travel ban then will apply to everyone, right? It does not carve out an exception for people who have left the country and are visiting and coming back. Maybe there will be an exception carved out and there'll be more explanation about whether these people are included in this proclamation. But as of now, we are speculating that most probably they are included based on how the proclamation is presently written. And also there is, the proclamation talks about prospective employers. So when we say prospective employers, some people might think that prospective employers are only those employers who are filing H1 for the first time. That is not necessarily true. Even in a case of an extension, it is still a prospective employer. Could be because you're filing a H1 based on new terms and conditions that will be applicable to that employee for the coming 3 years or the 1 year or whatever time you're filing the H1 for. So in that situation, even that person can be called, that employer can be called a prospective employer. So any H1B employer is called a prospective employer. So that's why we're wondering whether it's, applicable to people who are outside the country and just visiting, or who it's applicable to, right? So this is something that we are still trying to get further clarification on. Santosh, you want to add to that?
Yeah, especially we may have, but like I think we may have to monitor people who are entering through Doha, through Abu Dhabi, right? Wherein because there we will get to know whether they have been able to get through the port of entry. Especially, I don't know if there are any flights at this point of time, but yeah, typically if they're, that's why we have been waiting to see some news regarding that one. So if we see that there have been mass deportations or anything like that from Doha, then it's a red flag, right?
Yeah,
So
we know what it means. So that
yeah,
unfortunately we have to go
we
through that
just
to know
waiting
what this
on.
proclamation means.
Yes. And there is all sort of false news out there because even like Fox News, they quoting something saying that hey, we received information from a senior White House professional, right? But they don't mention the name,
Yeah.
right? Even Times of
Exactly.
India, nobody mentions name as to their source, like who's regarding their source. So I think we just have to wait and see for maybe next few hours. Yeah. And if anyone knows of one of their friends or family members who are traveling through Doha, then please update us so that we'll know better. We'll have a better idea as to who is getting affected and when.
Prashanti ma'am, I have one question from the audience, which is related to the topic. So, for example, if a person is on the F1 visa and he has applied for the change of status to the H1B right now, which is in the pending, does this proclamation applies to him or not?
Well, it depends if the person is outside the country and is seeking to come back after his H1B is approved on a H1. Because if it's a cap case, most probably it's approved will be for a start date of October 1st. So if the person is leaving and trying to get a visa and come back on a H1, then yes, it affects them. So in that instance, if the person is able to continue to be on an F1 and if the F1 has not yet expired, then I would suggest they don't go for visa stamping right now and they just try to come back on their F1. And then, later on, they can figure out, what to do. Either file a change of status again or, go for a visa later on once the dust settles. So it really depends on whether they're in the country or outside the country and whether they're continuing to be on F1 status and if they have a valid F1 visa or not.
No, for example,
if they are in the
within the
country.
United States,
It's actually,
Sorry?
I'm sorry.
If they are in the country.
So if they're in the country, it should not affect the proclamation.
It will not affect them. It will not affect people who are in the country. It only affects you if you're outside the country. And if you're on F1 outside the country, again, it doesn't affect you. It only affects people who are coming in on a H1.
Yeah. Okay. So
and what about the L1 visas? Does this apply to them? L1 visas?
Sorry. F1 visas, yes. It doesn't affect F1 visas or getting an F1 visa. It only affects getting a H1B visa at this point in time.
Okay.
So if the person has actually filed for a change of status, I'm assuming that they are presently in the US, in that case, the proclamation should not affect them. But if they want to go for stamping, then yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, were you asking about L1 visas?
Santosh,
Yes, sir.
I think we have more than 1,000, 2,000 questions.
We should go quickly and do rapid fire.
Okay.
Let's do rapid fire.
Okay.
So it does not affect L1 visa holders as of now.
Okay. So can we take the question from the audience, sir? Yeah, can we take the question from the audience?
Yeah.
And the first question is to the Attorney Prashanti. I'm in the India, so came for the H1B stamping. They completed the stamping and gave the flight by the next week. So do I need to travel right now or not?
I suggest that you don't travel right now. Wait for a window of opportunity. If there is a TRO, and hopefully there's one, maybe you sneak in while the TRO is in effect and before something else happens. But buy a ticket and keep it ready so that you can travel at a moment's notice.
So this to Attorney Santosh. Hi Santosh, will this affect present H1B holders who are in the United States right now, or will this affect if we want to renewal our H1B visas?
It will not affect those who are currently in the US. It will affect them for the H1B visa renewals only for, with respect to their wages. Right? It will not have it's not like their case will be denied. It's only that they have to get paid a little more higher wage.
Okay. And so the next question to the Attorney Prashanti. And so I have a valid visa expiring in the month November 2026. I have a travel plan to India in another 6 weeks, planning to stay in India for 10 days and return to the United States. So will this impact me to pay 100K? Kindly advise.
Yes, it might. My strong suggestion, until we know for sure, do not travel.
Okay. And so to the Attorney Vijay.
Yes.
And is there any possibility and so where the corporation is going to file a case on this issue right now?
Yeah, I think there certainly is. So I anticipate a lot of the corporations, the bigger ones have 5,000, 6,000, or 10,000 employees that are on H1. They certainly are going to be filing something, and we're also looking to find a plaintiff to file that. So if you know of anyone that's been denied because of this, let us know, and we'll be happy to look into it and see if we can file it. As Prashanti has just mentioned, we anticipate a TRO probably coming in the next few days. So if not that, feel free to reach out to us and we'll work on filing that for you.
And can I know who has the standing in this case? Like, for example, is the H1B holders or the corporate?
I think, without looking further into it, I think both parties would have standing, because obviously this would affect the employers as they're not able to bring those employees here. And certainly the employees are going to be harmed, right? So there's certainly a party that does have standing.
Okay, thank you. And to the Attorney Santosh, how does this affect physicians? We are the physicians working in underserved area as a waiver.
Yeah.
So, but I want to know how
I don't think it affects them. I don't think it affects them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so to the Attorney Santosh, I'm in India now for my vacation. My visa is valid until April 2027. I have not come for any stamping. I just came for the visiting of my parents. Was stamped in the month of November 2024. I was in the United States since 2024. What should I do now? I
recommend that you wait for a few days until the dust settles. Okay, we don't want you to travel right now until we know for sure that you don't fall under the proclamation, or until there's a temporary restraining order. So for now, just hold off and do not travel.
Okay. And to the Attorney Prashanti, is there any impact on the H4 individuals with a valid stamping on India right now, and they wanted to come to the United States?
Right, that has been another question as to whether there'll be an impact for H4s, and that's a good question. But since they have not specifically mentioned it in the proclamation, I would say no, unless they decided to add it later or carve it in later. As of now, there is no such, it's not in the proclamation that H4s will be affected.
Okay.
I want to add one thing to this one, because this is a very important thing. So what happens if a H4 individual is currently present in the US, but the H1B individual has traveled to India and is stuck, right? So if H1B individual, like H4 visa is intended to accompany the H1B visa holder, and if the H4 visa holder is currently in the US, whereas the H1B visa holder is in India and stuck, then there is a good chance that USCIS will deny the person's H4 extension.
Okay. And so there is one
So
more
we
thing.
We
got
could
you
also
back.
argue. We could also argue, Santosh, that if it is a short period of time, then
Because
H4
the
doesn't
proclamation,
automatically
yeah, I know, but
fall out
proclamation
of
is
status.
speaking about 12 months, right? At least 12
Yeah,
months,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
Then if they leave
they
and they are
cannot-
coming back, then forget it. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. You're right.
And also, we have
Awesome.
had a RFE years ago wherein the H1B individual was in outside the US for over a period of 4 to 5 months, while the H4 individual was in the US. And USCIS came back and said that, hey, she was violating her status because the H4 visa was intended to accompany the H1B individual, but that's not what was happening in this case. So you got to be cautious with that too.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I would like to read out one important announcement made by the White House right now. To be clear, so it was quoted, to be clear, this is not an annual fee. It is a one-time fee that applies only to the petition. Those who are already on the H1B visas and are currently outside of the country right now will not be charged 100K to re-enter. H1B visa holders can leave and re-enter the country to the same extent as they normally would, whatever ability they have to do. That is not impacted by the yesterday's proclamation. This applies only to the new visas, not renewals, and not current visa holders. It will first apply in the next upcoming lottery cycle.
Good.
Yeah, so this just now we got an update.
Is this from White House
From White
website?
House or?
Yeah,
We want
just
to
from
make
the
sure the
White House.
source is correct. Yeah, very important to make sure what the
Yeah,
source is.
because if that is the case, then what is the main reason of starting it now? Because they say like it expires in 12 months and the new cap doesn't even start until 12 months.
Maybe
Okay,
just check
so
the source. It may be. Yeah.
no, this is
I'm very curious.
yeah. No, this has
From
been
the president.
updated by the Carolyn Leavitt, assistant to the president and 36 White House press secretary. So she has tweeted right now, just now.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not
That's
Can
seeing
you
good
see
it.
then.
that? Can you please verify once?
I just shared it with you, Santosh.
Okay. 1 second.
This is-
Caroline Levitt.
And it's just not about okay, it's one time okay. Those who already hold H1 visas are currently outside the United. Okay, it will be
Yeah, I see that people are tweeting. I hope this is, yeah, it seems to be, but you know, the only
are they
problem is in the
new
writing.
visas or new H1Bs? Okay, but
This is
again,
not an annual fee. It's a
applies to
one-time fee that
lottery
applies
cycle.
only to the
Okay.
petition.
So it does not,
Meaning
yeah, it doesn't going to
Not
affect for 1 year.
600,000, 100,000, let's say. Those who already hold H1B visas and are currently outside the country now will not be charged 100,000 to re-enter. H1B visa holders can leave and re-enter. So basically they're saying if you already have a visa, you're not going for a visa, then you will not be impacted. So this is the visitor scenario that we were talking about. If you come for a visit to visit your family or whatever, and you're going back, you already have a visa, you're not applying for a new visa, then you will not be impacted. This is good news if this is correct. I still
Now,
take
is this
everything
a
at a
credible
pinch of
news?
salt because
Also,
there's
it
so much
says
news
that
going
it does not apply to renewals and not current visa holders. So if somebody had H1B visa before, and if they're going for stamping again, it doesn't apply to them. So it says that it applies in the next cap cycle only.
So,
Yeah.
But-
So is
so
this
which-
the trusted source? Sir?
yeah. Yeah, this is from
So can you please
to the
confirm?
president. So
only to
yeah,
new
it's a trusted
visas,
source.
not renewals and not current visa holders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it does not go into effect until next year.
well,
Because
well,
the next
But
cap-
then
how
what
does
does it
this-
mean by 21st? What is September 21st then?
yeah. So
So
how?
September 20, okay, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I just want to say these tweets, how legitimate they are. Not
Yeah, that's
legitimacy
another.
in terms of
I want to wait and
implementation,
see.
right? Yeah.
Right.
Will this supersede what was signed by the president? This tweet is not a law, is not an order signed by the president, right? So are they going to have more clarification within the proclamation order, or this tweet by itself,
So
I guess, has no authority?
I think, Jay, the proclamation was not written very clearly. I think this is what they might have meant all along, but they didn't write it clearly. And now they're just clarifying as to what they actually meant.
Okay, good, good.
And from a
Yeah.
litigation perspective, I think it certainly can be persuasive for us to use it in court if we have to, because it's coming directly from the press secretary.
Yeah.
Good point.
Because it shows
If
the
that is the
intent.
case, then I don't think we have to worry about any of this proclamation order because it doesn't come into picture until next cap.
I mean, we have to worry for next year, but
And
immediately
yeah,
we may
and
not
who
have
knows,
to.
maybe the market will improve by then, and we will not be in the situation.
Or maybe
But-
somebody will file a court case. You guys will file a court case, and we'll be successful in.
Yeah. But I don't think we'll have a standing at this point of time, right? Because this doesn't going to affect anyways.
No,
So we may not be able to file
Well,
anything
you might
until
have a standard for those people who want to file in the future because they have to. I mean, you can argue, right, that it will affect because I am filing it in March. March is 6 months away.
Yeah.
And you show that there'll be an effect because you intend to file. You have a job already, and you know.
Just might
But
not be
there's
able to
another
get
issue here, Prashanti. So for example, they are saying that this is going to expire by end of next year. Next year, September 21st. Right.
Right.
So people, the H1B is going to kick in from October 1st. Right. So even if we don't pay the 100,000 fee, right, unless it gets extended, we don't have to worry about it any place. So
Yeah,
I don't
because
know if
but
we
it
can
might
file any
like
litigation
this,
at this point of time.
correct, but it might get extended. I mean that we have to
Okay.
presume that it will
And
get
trust me,
extended.
it
Presume
doesn't
the
matter
worst.
whether they listen to this one, but I don't think anybody is going to travel to India.
this
That's
applies only to new visa.
It is and that was the whole. That was the whole. I think that's what they wanted to achieve. They caused confusion and panic,
Yeah.
and that's what they have succeeded in achieving.
But
So it's interesting then that so visas. So if you're going to apply for an extension of your visa, just to reiterate, for those of you who didn't understand our discussion,
I think
if you're going
let's
to apply for an
continue.
extension,
Yeah,
does it
let's
apply?
continue.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Knowing what we know, I think Sai, please go through the questions and let's continue this. And then when attorneys are answering the questions, they will have this in the back of their mind.
Yeah, for sure. And so the next question to the attorney Prashanti. I'm in the US holding H1B visa for the past 8 years, and the company is planning to file my renewal this month. So kindly confirm if this fees of the 100K still applies.
It doesn't apply to you because it doesn't apply to people who are in the country.
Okay. So can we travel to the different countries other than India on the H1B?
Well, right now it seems that you can because it only applies to people who are applying for a H1 for the first time and have not applied before and who are outside the country. So if you're already on a H1, then it doesn't apply to you. Based on this tweet, I have to add that caveat.
Yeah. And so attorney Santosh, does this proclamation apply to all the H1Bs? How does this affect the capped versus cap exempt H1Bs?
Okay, this does not apply to any person who is currently on H1B, right? It only applies to future H1Bs.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't matter whether that if somebody's on cap or cap exempt H1B right now, it doesn't apply to them. It will only apply for H1B petitions that will be filing starting next year, based on the suite.
Yeah. Does this apply to the non-profit H1Bs too?
Everybody.
Everybody. Okay.
When it goes into effect, it could apply to everyone unless they can show that their position is qualifies for national interest waiver.
Okay. So right now I'm in India and my visa appointment is on the September
No issues.
20th.
Based on this one, they don't have any issues.
Okay. No. So please, I'm in India right now. My visa appointment is on the September 23rd. I have an approved petition when I was in the USA. Should I show the 100K payment proof during my interview?
No.
Okay.
You don't need to. So only for cases that will be filed in future, that will be filed after April 2026, and that too under cap, will be subject to this.
Okay. So can you please explain me what is the exact impact on the companies for the H1B extensions or transfers, and impact on the H1B holders of traveling H1B holders for stamping? Okay.
Yeah.
So how the company is going to affect it?
Well, the only effect would be that they will have to pay higher wages now in order to hire these H1B workers, right? Other than that, none of this proclamation order would not apply to those who are already on H1B visas, right? But in future, the companies will have to shell out more money in order to be able to hire a H1B worker, because then they'll have to pay $100,000 extra for every H1B they are planning to bring in. So there is another issue here. Prashanti, do you think they would ask for 100,000 because they're saying 100,000 once, right? Not every year. So is it like the cap, the employer who is filing a cap petition has to pay the 100,000 and then the next employers don't have to do anything, or what do you think? How do you think
That's what it looks like. Maybe every 3-year term. So every time each term, maybe you pay 100,000. Or I don't know whether it'll be every 3 years or it'll be for just one time for 6 years, because there is definitely inconsistency in this tweet versus what they're saying now and what they said in the White House video, right?
Yeah,
which was
like
widely
every year, right?
shown, because they said in that video that it'll be 300,000, means 100,000 every year. They clearly said that, and so now they're basically backtracking because there's nothing really that's in writing to say whether they were, what they said then is correct or what they're saying now is correct. I mean, I'm happy with this, of course, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying there seems to be a lot of confusion in or backtracking based on the reactions that they're getting with reference to what they intend to do now versus what they intended to do earlier, is what I feel. Or it could be just like, I don't know, difficult to explain, but yeah, I feel there is inconsistency in this tweet and what they said earlier, and also in what is written.
I don't know why they mentioned that this initial proclamation will end at the end of 1 year. By then, this doesn't even come to picture.
Yeah, but then why even have the proclamation for the 12 months? How is it useful for this 12 months?
Yeah,
it is not useful unless they extend it. So how are they? So the idea was to have it go into effect, see how it's working, and then decide whether they want to renew it or not. But there is no chance of it going into effect because they're pretty much saying we're going to decide whether it goes into effect or not after 12 months, even before it goes into effect.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's why I'm saying we need to wait to see. We need to wait, I think, to see what all this actually means and not jump to any conclusions.
And also, if somebody is planning to file for an extension, please do it ASAP before the wage levels goes up. Okay. I recommend that if at all possible, if you need to file an amendment to the extension, please do so. But try to file all extensions ASAP before the wages go up.
And so a question to the attorney, Santosh. So my H1B is still on the pending. So can I go for the premium processing right now?
Yeah, they can go for premium processing. This proclamation has no effect on their case.
Okay, because they have been applied during the 2025 cycle, right?
Yeah, that is fine.
Okay. Yeah. Attorney Prashanti, I have a question to you. I'm a medical doctor who just got a J1 waiver. Am I allowed to travel to Canada for my brother's wedding in the October? Also, my I-94 expires on December 31st, 2025. Does this mean I have to exit the country before that?
So it doesn't affect J1s. So yes, you can travel, and it only affects H1s. So there's no question of whether it affects you or not. It doesn't. And obviously, if your status is expiring, you have to leave or file for an extension. Or file for a change of status or whatever. You can't stay without any status.
Okay. And so does this proclamation impact existing H1B holders with a valid visa stamping who is on the Bahamas cruise closed loop trip?
Well, as per this tweet, it doesn't affect you. So enjoy your Bahamas cruise and see you back soon. But again, I will tell you 100% once I am sure of it 100%.
Yeah. Attorney Santosh, how this is going to affect those on the I-140? So what does the annual fee mean since the permit is renewed once every 3 years?
Okay, so I'm assuming that this person is already on H1B in the US, so it will not affect them. It only goes into effect starting the next year cap. But my gut feeling says that it will probably affect even those who are currently on H1B if they travel outside the US after 2 years, right? And when they are trying to enter back, it might trigger this proclamation might trigger get triggered in their case.
And so to the attorney Prashanti, is this impact who are on the EB2 EAD and advanced preload? Can they travel without any issue?
No issue with AP and EAD. In fact, if you're able to take, and that's another segue into that, if you because the visa bulletins bulletin in October, a lot of numbers have become current for EB1, EB2, and EB3. I would say if you're able to file your 485, please do. Of course you will, but please take EAD and AP as well. Don't depend on H1B. You've seen what's happening while being on a H1. I would say segueing to a 485, pending 485 with the EAD and AP is much safer in today's environment.
Okay. And so can you also please explain the people having the green card traveling abroad, are they being affected?
No. I mean, there have been some instances where green card holders have been stopped, but for political reasons, they have been. And another reason is if they've spent too much time outside the country and they're not able to show that they're maintaining residence in the US, then yes, they've been stopped in some instances. But other than that, I don't see an issue with permanent residents traveling. And certainly this proclamation doesn't affect it in any way.
Okay. And Attorney Santosh, how does this new rule impact the folks who go to the India for stamping, assuming that they've already got their I-979A when they're in the United States?
So it will not affect them. Those who already have H1B approvals, it will not affect them.
Okay. And so what's the impact on the adult kids of the L1 doing the graduation here in the United States and aspiring to get the job soon, as already working in the school to work for the premium companies? So do you want me to repeat that?
I'm kind of confused. Can you repeat once again?
Okay. So what is the impact on the adult kids of L1 doing the graduation here in the United States?
Okay. So they'll have the same issue. If they are trying to apply for H1B, they'll have to go through the same process and they'll also be subject to this proclamation.
Yeah. And so September 10th, my visa got stamped and received the passport. If I want to travel tomorrow, do I need to pay or my company need to pay 100K?
No, you don't have to pay anything.
You don't have to.
Neither you nor your company has to pay anything. You can travel.
Okay. I'm on the
My
H1B.
recommendation is if you are getting paid less, I recommend not to travel. Just not to travel outside the US. Right? Because now with all this going on, we never know. Maybe there's a CBP officer who would just stop people who are getting paid less and then restrict them from entering into the US. So it's better to avoid travel outside the US as much as possible.
Okay. And so I'm on the H1B with the approved I-797, was planning to travel to in India for visa stamping along with my wife, H4, who is on H4. Due to this new rule, will the spouse can travel and get her visa stamped and return back?
Okay, so the spouse who's on H4 wants to travel and get a visa stamping, right? Yeah. Well, it is possible, but there have been situations wherein the visa officer would ask the H1B visa holder also to attend the visa interview. So they got to be prepared for that.
Okay. And Attorney Prashanti, and our H1B visa remains valid until 2028. We have booked our tickets to in India for a 1-month vacation in the month of November and require a visa stamp. Is it safe to travel?
It is safe to travel as per, again, this tweet, but I'm seeing a lot of messages which say that the tweet she's amended, the press secretary has pretty much amended the proclamation and is she allowed to do that? So I don't know, with this present administration, everything is a mess. So I would again wait and see, but as per the tweet, you can, because it clearly says, as per the press release, that you can travel. So that person should be able to travel without any issues.
Okay, I'm in India on the vacation. I hold a stamped visa till November 8th. Can I re-enter with my stamped visa today?
Yeah, because it's not yet November 8th. So the visa is valid as long as, the date is valid. So you can enter the country. The visa, remember, doesn't give you status. It's when you enter, it's the I-797 and the I-94 that gives you status when you enter into the US. So the visa can be used for the date that it's up to.
Yeah, and so to the attorney Santosh, how about having an approved H1B valid until 2027 December and need to go for stamping? So can I do it right now?
Yeah, they can go for stamping now, but I recommend avoiding travel as much as possible. So if you don't have to travel, then don't travel. But there is no restriction, like this proclamation does not restrict you from going for visa stamping.
Okay. And my H1B stamping has been completed. I'm planning to travel on September 25th. I opted for the consular process and I have 7 years of an experience with the same company on H4EAD. Can you please let me know, is 100K fees applied to this scenario?
No, it doesn't apply. It
Okay,
does
it
not
doesn't
go
apply to H4EAD, right?
It does not go into picture. It doesn't apply for H4EADs, or it doesn't go into picture until next year cap.
Okay. So, no, does this apply to the H4EAD, who have
No, it
been
doesn't
doing the
apply.
job?
It does not
It
apply for
doesn't apply.
H4EADs. No.
Okay. And I have my visa stamping, which is valid until April 2027. I'm planning to travel to India in the month of January 2026. Please suggest if the 100K fee still applies.
No, it will not apply to them.
Okay. And to the attorney Prashanti, my son, who is on the H4, just turned 16 in the month of August, is currently in India. Too little time to travel back. Would that be an issue if he travels later in the first week of October?
Can you repeat the first part of the
Okay.
question?
Okay. My son, who is on the H4, just turned 16 in the month of August, is currently in India. Too little time to travel. Would it be that issue if he travels later in the first week of October?
It makes no difference. The proclamation doesn't affect him in whatsoever way, so he can travel whenever he wants.
Okay. Can he
The
travel
normal
alone
rules
without
apply,
the
whatever the
H1B?
rules are.
Okay.
Sorry?
Can he travel alone without the principal H1B holder?
When he's 16, yes, you can travel.
Okay.
He has a
So,
H4 visa, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
If he has a valid visa, yes, he doesn't have to travel with his parent. If he's 16, he can travel on his own also.
Okay. How does the new H1B guidelines impact the students on the STEM OPT visa if they change the status to the H1 in the coming years?
It doesn't affect F1 to H1 change of status applications. They've made that very clear right from the beginning.
Okay. And in the coming years?
Oh, in the coming years, we don't know.
Yes.
I wish I had it doesn't look good anyway, but one thing that it could affect the F1s to a great extent more than other people is the wage increase. If they increase the wage and say only level 2 and level 3 people can file for the lottery, and they take away the registration system and they put this wage system in place, which is a proposal, which is what they want to do. They are saying that only level 3 people can apply. That's a different bombshell that we might have to encounter. But then all entry-level positions, and F1s are obviously entry-level positions, so all entry-level positions will get affected and they'll be cancelled out of the lottery because they will not be allowed to apply. So that's something that we're hoping doesn't happen, but we are hearing that it might.
Okay. And to the question to the attorney Santosh, what are the implications on the OPT students? Can we travel to in India and come back in the month of December?
Yeah. Right now, this proclamation does not have an effect on the OPT students, so they can travel and come back.
Okay. So it doesn't matter, right? So they don't need to worry.
They don't need to worry about it.
Okay. So there is a new comment from the YouTube. And we have to travel on the next Friday with my family, have the visa stamped until 2026 April. What is your suggestion with the new tweet?
Well, you could travel. There's no issue. But personally speaking, I recommend that you avoid travel as much as possible, especially unless they're getting paid like high salaries. For example, if the H1B holder is making more than 100K, I would not worry too much. But if they're making less amount, then yeah, I would be a little more cautious.